are you today?
Hi, Jen. I'm good. Hanging in there with everything going on. Had a little staycation last week, and now I'm back in my humble abode. Not,
Oh, so
not,
nice.
not as cool as a Lego room, but it'll do.
Yes, the Lego room was very, very fun. We will miss it. But I also like your place. It's very clean and crisp and kind of vibe too.
Very minimalist.
Yeah, it makes you pop. I like it. Whereas me, I'm like surrounded by moody blue, green light.
I love it though. I love the light.
Yeah.
I love the lights though.
Thank you. Yeah, I stole some stuff. We have a container house in our backyard. I think we've talked
Ooh.
about that before. And that's where I've been doing them. But we had somebody come stay. And so I moved a lot of the stuff inside. I didn't feel like putting it all back up the way it was. But I kind of like this. This is kind of a fun makeshift in the meantime.
Yeah.
Some stolen props, like the lavender behind my head, which just seems like it's growing out of my ear. Today we're talking about the Kings, who the King, and did not do a good job last week at making them sound exciting, and, and they will be. They're going to be so much fun, guys. Pay attention. This is our last installment of the court cards, and Suzanne, I'm so grateful that you like stuck with it and did all of them with me, and I can't imagine having done it any other way now that we have. So
No, this has been great. I've loved it. It's been so fun.
it has been fun. Yeah, I really enjoy you, and you're just so thorough, and your research is good, and we have good conversations. So right off the bat, we ended last week with the Knights, and we're gonna kind of touch on a similar thing today with what their element is. So the Knights and the Kings, depending on what you look at, one's air, one's fire, or vice versa. Today we're going to go with that Kings are fire, correct?
Yes.
Yep. And Kings are big energies. They're the boss, and they're authority figures in whatever space they're in. They're external, their environments, as opposed to queens who embody and internalize. And I generally like most of the Kings. Do you have any outright statements for Kings that you want to say?
Just obviously, like when we had our first of these videos and we talked about the queens being related to the Empress. For the Kings, each king represents an aspect of the Emperor. So.
Yeah, and that's interesting. And we discovered through research that this is the year of the Emperor.
Yes.
The Emperor is card number 4, and it's the year 2020, which adds up to the number 4. So, yours is, love that one. And I think that kind of sums up our experience so far with 2022.
Yes.
Lots of people thinking they know what's happening, but probably don't. And lots of loud voices, lots of shouting, and this way or the highway kind of mentality.
Yeah. And I think with everything going on too, the Emperor is, I think in both of our cards kind of points to a level of like structure.
Yeah.
And I think that just the way that we do life like globally has been like just reshaped in a lot of different ways, and I would say restructured probably permanently. I don't think we will go back to the way things were. I think we'll essentially move forward, and it won't look the same as it did last year.
Yeah, I agree. And rules, like a whole new set of rules to live by, and like you said, structure, and that's seemingly even changing by the week or the month as we learn more information. And across the world, different emperors are saying, laying down their method, thinking that theirs is the best, and we'll see soon whose is. And but to me, it kind of makes you feel like there isn't a lot of, for everybody else, personal power or personal authority, that we're like under a thumb a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I mean, emperors, like they, they rule absolutely in a lot of ways. They're not, it's a different level of authority than say a prime minister or a president, just like going back to the original, like definition of an emperor and the way that played out in the world.
Yeah. Eeks. And the emperor is Aries. And
Yes.
yeah.
My rising sign.
Yes, my rising sign. I love that. I love that you're an Aries rising. You're double fire with that Leo sign.
Yes.
Which I love. So the King of Cups is Scorpio.
Yes.
Totally can see that. King of Pentacles is Taurus.
Oh,
King
yeah.
of Swords is Aquarius. And the King of Wands is Leo.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all falling into place now.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because all of my sun, moon, and rising are all represented in these kings.
Wow. My sun and rising are. Yeah, because I have Aquarius and then Aries rising. Then I have Libra moon, which is obviously.
Yeah, and I'm Taurus moon, so.
I love, let's just go with that. I really love the King of Pentacles.
All right.
And I noticed that this will be fun to talk about because I was looking at your notes versus my notes, and I don't even think I said some of the things just quite yet that you have for somebody else, and that I also associate with this guy. The King of Pentacles for me is an entrepreneur, and I saw that. Oh yeah, I love your card. And I saw that you have that listed for the King of Wands, which totally makes sense there too. But the King of Pentacles is has a Midas touch. Whatever he touches turns to gold. Oh yeah, your throne is so fun. And he's able to have an idea, execute it, and then make money. Like he has follow through ability.
Yes.
He also often for me represents somebody with money and investors. It'd be a great investor card to have show up for somebody. Yeah, you go ahead and chime in with your thoughts on them too. I don't want to take all the good stuff.
Oh no, I mean I completely agree. I mean when I look at the traditional Rider-Waite depiction of the King of Pentacles, he's very much, I mean he's just surrounded by wealth. Like you look at him and you can't really see where the king begins and where the throne ends. Like he's just completely, it encompasses him.
Yeah.
And he's just, there's almost like there's a level of contentment I see in this card, and it could also be a level of pride depending on, whether it's upright or reverse, but there's definitely the sense of like, I've got this. There's money in the bank.
Yeah, I have what you want to. How are you going to impress me in order to get the thing that you need? And also the evolving into this person. Yeah, like any millionaire and billionaire would be somebody that would fall under this card. And also just like, it doesn't have to be extreme either. It could just be a large sum of money relative to the person's experience with wealth.
Absolutely.
Something amplified here and done something right.
Right. I mean, it could even signify, coming into this new sort of socioeconomic status.
Yeah, new money.
Yeah, like you've
Titanic. They use that phrase so much in that movie. Yeah, you have the vocation here for the King of Pentacles as sciences, math, and business.
Yeah.
I'm surprised by the math. I probably would have given math to the swords, but I also get it because he's money, and that's literally numbers. Know.
Yeah.
That makes sense. How do you feel about him in reverse or shadow?
Oof. So in reverse or a shadow, way of looking at the King of Pentacles, definitely materialistic. I think it's pretty obvious. You can kind of read that even if it's not reverse. It's very obvious that, he has a lot of material wealth. So I can see it as materialism. I can see it as greed. There's like a connection between the King of Pentacles and the Four of Pentacles. You know,
Yes, the
well, there's the,
mine mentality.
yes, the kind of the miser. This is mine.
I'm not
And,
letting it go.
right.
Yeah.
Sort of kind of reminds me of what, like Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
Oh. Oh no, you have summoned it, so I'm about to do my impression, and it's really horrible, but I have to.
Do it.
It's mine. My own. My precious.
Yes.
I love doing that, and I don't think it's any good, but it makes me so happy. You're right. This is totally like a Schmeagle card.
Yes. Really.
Wow.
Totally.
Yep. And archetype is the manager.
Yeah.
He feels like a manager to me. Yeah, he's showing up in a suit probably, and you know, on the funny, silly side, he could be like the boss from The Office. You know, thinking that he's
Oh
one
yes.
is actually another. Yeah, I like him.
I do too, overall. And then there's another aspect of the King of Pentacles, in particularly in Pixie's depiction. If you look at your card, you can actually see one of his armored shoes.
Yes.
That are sticking out from the robe. And you know, when I've like kind of read about like the symbolism, like why are we seeing this one, you know, shoe, and the fact that it's covered in armor. And I do believe it's similar with the Emperor. The Emperor also has on a layer of armor, I believe, in the Rider Waite.
He does.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So you can kind of see some parallels there. And you know, obviously, armor is like worn by someone that's actually like fought battles. And so I see that sometimes it's like you've been through some things, you've been through a number of circumstances like on this battle to gain this material wealth or these possessions. So you're probably less likely to want to just give it up easily or squander it.
Well, now I'm looking down and looking at all the feet of the other ones that are coming. What's going on with the feet? Yeah, I love that. I don't think I knew that. That's really cool. Yeah, you're right. He's just like drowning in this throne, but not in a bad way. Like he's just being, he has become the throne.
Yes.
So I feel a calling to do the King of Swords next.
All right.
I have to be completely honest. I mean, I like all the kings. I don't have any problems with kings or immediate negative association. But I am a little uninspired by him in general. Yeah. I mean, I always
think boring.
Yeah, it's kind of boring. He's probably the boring one. That's probably the one I was talking about last week when I labeled the whole category boring. He was like, "You're but he is for me an environment of truth, of direct communication, dialogue, not just one speaking their truth with like the queen, but everyone doing so, and there being a conversation around facts and information. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's funny actually. I get the King of Swords pretty frequently when I do readings for myself, if I'm just kind of doing a quick like day to day. And generally when this comes up for me, that means that I either need to or I'm already moving into a space where like I'm activating the more logical side of my personality, and I'm basically cutting through the crap and just getting to the facts of whatever it is that I'm asking about, whether it's a decision or, if I have some choices I need to make, or I just have a massive to-do list.
Yeah.
Or, I'm just feeling particularly cerebral that day.
Yeah. Yeah, your card's awesome. I like the pink under her feet.
Yeah.
In the ground. I wonder what that means. It's almost like her energy is starting to saturate her environment.
The earth, yeah, it does look like that.
Yeah, so this is a scientist, a specialist, vocation, physician, surgeon, lawyer, judge, negotiator.
Yeah.
Especially with the Queen of Swords and as the King of Swords as an indicator card. And I definitely pay attention to him having a connection to being a lawyer or somebody helpful, especially in like critical situations that someone might be in.
Yes.
To have them like have an expert in their field of like
Yes.
of reason and logic
Absolutely.
to help decipher. Maybe they're in a very emotional thing and they need somebody who is not biased. In
Right.
that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I even see this as the type of like boss or manager, supervisor, that isn't particularly warm and fuzzy.
Mhm.
Like they know the direction they want their team or their reports to go, and it's very clear cut. They might even kind of have a bit of a dry personality. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily mean they're without warmth, but primarily in the way in which they engage those people, it just might be more like much more formal.
I like that, the dry element of the personality. I've never thought about that. And I wonder if even like kind of a dry humor would be an interesting trait to assign
Oh
somebody
yeah,
like this.
I could
Yeah.
see that, or even sarcasm. Kind of like
Yeah. Well, if this is like Aquarius, then, and if it's male, then we all know about the male. Well, I could tell you all about it if you don't. The male Aquarius is like the definition of aloof, detached,
hmm,
in their own little planet. Uh, Big thinkers,
yes,
not always big doers. Like I feel like, I mean, they're doers, but I feel like the King of Pentacles has more follow through, and we're gonna see like a cash out or like a real
yes,
like finish finality here.
yes,
And whereas what he's dealing with is more abstract
yeah, ideas. Yeah,
ideas.
like ideas are just like at the ideation stage of a project,
Yeah.
or like or even having a vision for what you want to accomplish.
Yes.
That's kind of like the beginning stages before you actually like start to implement steps.
Yep. I do have to add my husband is an Aquarius. He's sitting right next to me. He has Pisces rising, so he completely defies everything that this.
Interesting.
Interesting how one little dynamic can completely make what everything
Yeah.
what as it just said false. But
Yeah.
yay, Aquarius. Anything else you want? Oh, let's talk about the shadow reverse of the King of
Oh,
Swords.
yeah. I think it's pretty to me again. Once you like understand the basics of tarot, it's pretty easy to read. Shadow side could be being cold,
Mhm.
kind of cutthroat. You kind of mentioned detached, aloof.
Yeah.
Someone that's cruel or cutting in the way that they communicate.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about your feelings. Like the feelings don't dictate how they. Yeah.
Do not. It's easy for them to cut you off.
Oh yes, that's another good
Yeah, it's like they're not going to think about it too much after they've done
one.
it. Like they're going to move on.
Very
They're
quickly.
not super nostalgic.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's yeah. I am an Aquarius. I don't always connect with those words, but I've met so many Aquarius who are that way. So,
Well, I mean, we know it's all like different placements in our chart, kind of.
mhm.
We're not just our sun or our moon or our rising. There's so many so many other
Many,
characters playing.
many things. What is your Mercury? Do you remember?
Oh, my Mercury is Virgo, and
Oh,
so is my Venus.
wow. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. My Mercury is an Aquarius, so I've got
Oh,
a double.
okay.
How about the King of Wands? How are we feeling about that?
Yes, I love the King of Wands.
I do too. To me, he's like, uh, he's a vibe. He's an energy. He's a state of mind for me. When we're talking about him as an environment, not as an indicator card.
Yes.
Like he is an expert. They are an expert in their field. They are very excited about what they do. They're very connected to it. They probably spend a lot of their time and attention on that thing. It is like it folded into their life. Their
Absolutely.
purpose is their life.
Yeah.
It's fire. Yeah. What are your thoughts? I love yours.
Thank you. Yeah, whenever I see the King of Wands, I like wands are about creativity, passion, drive. So I see, if we're, if this is indicating a person, I see someone that is able to maturely channel that creative spirit, or those passions in the right direction.
Yeah.
So, that's just, to me, that's someone that's like completely in control of like, this is the direction I want to take, this is the path I want to go on. And they know how to make decisions, in kind with that.
Yeah. I can't figure out how these cameras are working currently, but which direction is your king facing if you're looking at
He
it?
is looking to, if you're looking at the card directly, he's looking to the left.
Cool. Same.
Yeah.
Sweet. Oh, as indicator cards, to me, I feel like kings and queens can be pretty straightforward in that way in regards to if you're gonna like assign like a male versus female gender.
Yeah.
And if not, then this is definitely to me a masculine energy. And even if we're talking about non-binary, and it's been interesting to see this card show up and have the person actually look kind of similar.
Really?
Like the red hair or the tall, lean body. And of course, it's not literal all the time, but
right.
More than any other card, I've noticed that about this one.
Huh,
you know what I have to say though? Actually, I'm gonna throw a theory out in the universe that can't be and people are gonna think I'm crazy. I think that there is an extremely high percentage of redheaded Leos. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Like, I have been paying attention to that probably since I was a kid. My sister's a Leo. She has red hair.
Okay.
And my niece is a Leo. She has red hair. But because of that, I notice people say that they're Leos, or if they have red hair, I'll ask them what their sun sign is. And if it's not their sun sign, it's like their moon or their rising.
Something close by.
More often than not, and this is not a scientific study at all, it's just purely an observation.
We do not have data to back up Jen's assertion.
I do not have data to back this up at all. And there's red hair on this card, y'all. I'm telling you, pay attention.
That is interesting. That's interesting. Obviously, I am not a redhead.
I have been off and on a few times in my life. Not natural, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, it's actually funny. My mom is also a Leo, and when I, look at baby pictures of her hair is more of a reddish brown.
Ooh.
When she was younger, so she, like, you could definitely see it, especially in the sun.
Wow. I'm gonna do a study. Figure out a way to make this like legit.
People born during this specific set of dates, and if you have red hair.
Red hair, yeah. Let me see your chart. I love all the yellow and the blue. It's just I just feel like I don't even really have anything negative to say about this guy.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say about the King of Wands, if he were, reversed, or you're looking at the shadow aspect, is just being mindful of not getting burned out. Like if you're asking about an endeavor or a project, and I think really, I put this down for notes as a, shadow aspect of the King of Wands, but I think it can really go for all kings because of just, where they sit in the tarot court, just to be mindful of being, particularly bossy or aggressive or domineering, with like your authority.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the one you had listed as an entrepreneur, and I totally see that for this guy.
Absolutely.
Too. Because he's fire driven, so he's excited, and I could see him jumping on an idea of his own. Vocation, leadership, management, entrepreneur. Yeah. Oh, interesting. You have a word here, patriarchal.
Yes.
Egotistical, aggressive, domineering. I've heard some negative things in the past about the Knight of Wands. Kind of being like a ladies' man or a manipulator.
Yeah, I feel that too.
And I feel like if that's something that falls in the Wand suit and he's an advanced version of that, then he could be really good at those things too.
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, I've just yet to see this guy come up in that way.
I don't either. 'Cause I just don't associate. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, it's not a natural association for me either when I just intuitively.
Yeah, and I'm not really looking, to be completely honest, for details like that unless I have been specifically told.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but then again, there are other cards that I would say that give me that cue, or
Yeah.
combinations of cards. And honestly, now that we've talked about it for a few minutes, I will probably see him in that way. You know, if that situation arises,
Right.
he'll
Yeah.
become a part of my vocabulary with that.
Yeah. I mean, like, I've never seen like supporting cards around the King of Wands for me to, to sort of activate that kind of association.
Yeah, same. But I bet we will now.
Right. It's like now we're doomed.
That's how it works. And the last king is
Not least.
good guy, King of Cups.
And this is my King of Cups.
Boss. That deck wins every day. I feel like every time I'm like, your card's better. Your card's better. Well, this is the Rider Waite version, one of the classic decks, and then yeah, your deck is what again?
It's the Modern Witch Tarot.
Modern Witch Tarot.
Yeah.
Which I will be purchasing soon, I believe. But
Lisa Sturl, I do believe, is the creator.
oh, cool. The King of Cups. The cups I always have a direct, especially the masculine oriented court cards and cups. I have a vision or an idea of them graduating. I say that every time we talked about the page and the knight, and now here we are with the king. And in that respect, in love, this can be somebody who is emotionally wise, who has been through a lot of experiences.
Yes.
For example, maybe has been divorced and knows about what that means and that process, and is it next time they're committing themselves to a relationship in that capacity, they're more likely to be successful because they know what it takes.
Yeah.
So that way, like an emotionally wise person, and also to me, more than other kings, can be an indicator of age. Like being not older necessarily, but older than the person maybe who's asking about them.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I generally like the King of Cups. I actually see the King of Cups a lot for whatever reason.
Wow.
A lot of times when if I do a spread that's like time based, like if I do like a weekly spread, this card will often come up at the bottom of the deck for me. And I always look at the card that's at the bottom of the deck sort of for just additional insight. And I look at it as like an undercurrent, like what's sort of beneath the surface influencing all the comings and goings of, say, the week. And this card comes up a lot for me. And for me, it's an indicator that, because if you look at both of our kings, they're actually sitting on like stone thrones that are floating over the water.
Yeah.
And for both of ours, the waters look pretty choppy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot going on beneath the surface, but the king, him or herself, is just sitting, just chilling. Like there's no indication on their expression about, about what's happening around them.
Yeah. I just noticed the fish.
Mm-hmm.
Your fish is more pronounced.
Oh yes, on the yeah, there's one on Pixie's rendition as well.
Yeah, and do you have a sailboat on yours on the other side?
There is no boat on mine, it's just a fish.
Just the fish.
Yeah. She got rid of the boat.
Yeah, I got rid of the boat. See ya. Huh. Yeah, I think I've heard you point that out before, that they are seemingly sitting on a throne that seems to be in jeopardy because of the wild water around them, but they don't really seem bothered by it at all. And
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I think you also said the last time that you talked about that. Yeah, because Scorpio is so used to that like emotional intensity, right?
Yes.
So here in their space, they're cool, calm, and collect, but anybody else entering might be like seriously thrown
Like,
off.
what's happening?
Might actually drown.
That's like it's your risk.
So it's almost like, you know, he's an expert at this wild, woolly environment,
Yes.
which is love and emotions and all that tangly stuff that comes with it. So you better be prepared to match his level almost if you're going to entertain
Absolutely
being with them or engaging with that.
with them. Yeah, I mean, I also see this sometimes as like it could be repressed emotions. Because again, there's a stoic expression, but then you can see all this water. There's so much going on beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Or it could be just someone that's able to manage more difficult or turbulent emotions really well.
Yep. And you know, this too can be somebody who cares very much about the person at hand, like a father or somebody like that. It doesn't have to be like a literal father. It could be an uncle, it could be just anybody, a caretaker or a teacher who cares very much about helping somebody. They have an emotional connection.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool. I didn't mean for this to happen, but and this will only be relevant for a few days, but you know, we have a full moon into
Scorpio.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun to see that. To see him show up so close to that time and be the last card that we talked about.
Yeah, I'm actually, related to the King of Cups in Scorpio is the major arcana number 13, which is the death card.
Ah, yes.
It's also Scorpio.
Yep.
So.
And that's interesting with the times that we're in. Once again, being the year of the Emperor and this full moon in Scorpio, death, that death attachment.
Yeah,
it's pointing to like big change and the ending of things that as we've known them in some regard. We're definitely in Scorpio territory under the Emperor, and that's an interesting dynamic.
Yes, and I actually think this one I think it's Thursday morning for us on the East Coast. I think it's actually a super moon as well.
Yeah. So I think it's the flower supermoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a pretty emotional time for people.
Yes, it sounds. I was reading about it this morning, and and with that energy with the flower moon and it being in Scorpio, there are some themes of just like wouldn't be surprised or falls under this is like divorce, marriage, like extreme sexual encounters, fantasies.
Hey, Jen.
Oh, no. And all of those like deep, dark corners, the shadow self.
Basically.
What Scorpio rules the sexual organs and that chakra that's in that area. And so there's a lot of things, and I read that like if there are secrets in that space in your life, that good luck trying to keep that in the dark during the time, because it's likely to like something to surface about that.
Yeah.
Which makes me really intrigued by Scorpio. Like, hey, Scorpio, tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to be checking the news headlines.
Yeah.
Thursday and Friday.
I know. I'm really curious to see how that manifests. And like you said, it'll be emotionally heavy, I'm sure. And, Scorpio is, and I associate Scorpio and Pisces with super ability to sense and foresee and psychic vibes, and more so that, Cancer I'm sure does too, but like for me it's really like a Scorpio Pisces territory for whatever reason.
And, really strong intuition, strong.
Yeah, so I feel like I wonder, because of the flavor of that full moon, if we'll all get a little dose of that ourselves.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if affecting people both individually and collectively, that a lot of things come to the surface and a lot of realizations are had.
I'll be sending you a text if anything.
How did you survive?
Are you okay?
Right.
Let me know.
Like just checking up on you.
Yeah, this statement was kind of wild. That the last thing that I put here in this doc, the kings answer to no one in the minor arcana, not any of the pips, nor any of the other ranks of the court cards. So I'm like, well, that's just kind of douchey.
Yeah, it's so like so harsh.
Jesus, like listen to somebody else, you know?
Right. Take some counsel. It will help.
Yeah. The only authority they answer to, which we've already discussed, is the emperor.
Yes.
Which just feels so gross. But if we are considering, and as we should, kings aren't just men; they're everyone. In that case,
Yes.
that makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Unless, disturbing.
Yeah.
So,
I always prefer to see them in terms of just of like energy, and I don't always like I'm not always super literal.
Yeah.
Because I get masculine cards all the time, and you know, biologically I'm female.
I do too, and I mean, once again, that Aries rising to me is very masculine in general. Sometimes in women, or what is perceived as masculine.
Yeah.
So I didn't do a whole bunch of these, and I was, if you think of any, please feel free to like throw some out. But I did this week. We've done some fun things like this for the other court cards. Which boss sent this memo?
Oh, geez.
For the kings, yeah, and I have 3. So, but I think I have a 4th. But here's the first one.
Okay.
Which king would send the memo to facilitating a drum circle as a team building exercise?
Oh, drum circle. I want to say wands.
Yeah, it's gotta be. It's gotta be that Leo.
Yes.
Performer. Which boss sends the memo before the weekly staff update meeting, saying that everyone will have to go around and say something personal about themselves, about their life or their week, and how they're feeling?
Oh, geez. King of Cups.
Yeah, that was pretty easy.
Yes, all the feelings.
All the feelings. Which king would send the memo that everybody gets 3 weeks off for the holiday and the new year?
3 weeks off for a holiday?
I know. It's generous. Keyword.
I would say Pentacles. King of Pentacles.
Same.
Definitely not the King of Swords.
No. What would the King of Swords send? The King of Swords would probably be like,
you're working through the holidays.
you're working through the holidays. Also, please bring a very specific notepad to the meeting and a number 2 pencil. Yeah, with 3 erasers so you can take adequate notes. Yeah. I have one that just popped in my head. Which boss is likely to send the memo that the next big organizational meeting will be done over like some sort of intercom service like Zoom, where it only features them and nobody else really gets to chime in and talk?
Ooh, I would definitely say Swords.
Yeah, I was thinking that could be a Wands, but Sword. Swords. Yeah, Swords makes sense too. Well, any sort of bonus memo would come from Pentacles.
Yes, absolutely.
Or
even
lack thereof.
Vacation, bonus. Yeah.
Because he gets to choose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are there any that you could think of that are fun?
Well, it's one thing I was, not one specifically, but, so we've been kind of talking about the kings and, sort of like the light aspect versus the shadow. So have you ever thought about, say, like bad bosses and how they would manage, like how they would show up? Like if, say, you have let's say you have a boss or manager that's extremely disorganized. Like, who do you think that would end up showing up as?
I would say the shadow side of the swords.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I would also say swords.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of like the scattered, kind of like all over the place.
That could be a real mess.
Yes. And for like a I don't know, for a more domineering, say, boss, I would probably say King of Wands, like the shadow aspect.
Yeah. And on the positive side for the King of Wands, I wouldn't be surprised, and it wouldn't work, but they would think of this, of like the idea of which boss is likely to throw out the idea of a hierarchy system and making themselves equal with everybody else, but then obviously immediately regretting it.
Oh my goodness. I would assume that's the cups.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just because I think of like water and emotions and just being like relational. Like, oh, I want to be approachable.
Yeah, yeah.
But probably not the best way to go about it. Maybe a little too approachable.
Hilarious. Yeah. It's interesting that, and you know, obviously these cards, the kings, are more than just bosses, but they do seem to mostly have that vibe if they're not like somebody you're related to or with in an intimate way or hiring to do something for you, you know?
Yeah.
Are there any parting thoughts on the kings before we go?
So I mean, I want to make sure we kind of covered everything. You know, I mean, we didn't really talk about the kings too much as like being representative potentially of father figures.
Yeah.
But, you know, just sort of like we see like the queen as a mother figure, the kings would be like a father figure. Yeah. Could literally be your father if you're asking, you know, a question about just familial issues or, you know, baggage. Yep. Or, you know, it could represent like a mentor or, you know, someone that, you know, has some amount of like influence over your life. Like in a positive way.
Yeah. And I've seen kings show up as people who have passed, like a grandfather.
Oh, okay.
An uncle that's happened before. Somebody who passed when they were in a later stage in life.
Okay.
As that person knew them, you know?
Yes.
In that way.
Yes. You know, and then you know, just in general, you know, all the kings, I think of maturity, you know, in whatever realm they're representing.
Yeah. There's not one that I feel has some sort of facade going on with that. Like, I feel like they authentically are wise in their space.
Yes.
And they feel older. The youngest one to me feels like the King of Wands. And in this, and maybe that's because in this particular deck, he is depicted, he looks like he's almost in his 30s. Like, he doesn't even look, or early 40s.
Yeah, he doesn't look that old at all.
I mean, compared to this, and I feel like this feels like a much older person.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I can't, you know, I can't use that association necessarily with my deck because they all look very youthful.
Yeah, yours do. Yeah. And I like that because anybody can be a king. A 6-year-old can be a king.
Yeah, because I mean, everyone, but I will say, like, out of mine, I'd say that the King of Wands still looks very youthful.
Yes. I remembered that one standing out as very young.
Yes. And I would even say in this deck, the King of Pentacles looks very youthful as well.
Yeah, totally.
So there's, you know,
that's interesting. And then you go with the Emperor, and he's like,
right. Look at his beard.
He's long beard. You know what I'd love to do sometime in the future is do a talk. And I don't know how I would break this up or whatever, but just talking about like the different symbols and like the imagery on the cards. Literally just talking about where the pomegranates are showing up, where we're seeing the ram heads, and the difference in the thrones and what they're made out of. God, there's just, you could just talk forever.
I was about to say, like, that video will never end.
Just like infinite things. And really, that's just one of the reasons why I love this deck in particular. So I think she did such a good job illustrating these cards.
Yeah, no, she did. I mean, that's why, like, I would, you know, and you've said it before as well, that it's just a great first deck.
It's a great first step.
Because if you can master the Rider Waite, then you can pick up any other deck that follows that that RWS system, and you're fine.
Yep. Amen. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a joy. I can't believe it's over. I'm taking a few weeks off. We talked about that, and then I'm going to throw out some pitches to Suzanne and one or two others, people that I really appreciate and love, and we'll get some new videos going probably the end of May or maybe even June. We'll see how we feel. And if anybody has any ideas that they want us to explore in particular, let us
please
know. That would be so cool to hear back from y'all. But hopefully these have been helpful in expanding out what the court cards look and feel like in your readings, because they are complicated, they are abstract, and they aren't as straightforward as other cards, but they do add so many levels of dimension and vibes to a reading, especially when we're pointing or talking about specific people.
Yes, absolutely.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much. And we will be back, I'm sure, in a jiffy. And have a good week. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you so much, Jen. Mwah.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.